Hello and welcome to this speedrun of Nancy Drew's Secret of the Old Clock. This run was performed in March of 2026 and it reflects the best route and strategies of that time, with the exception of one change made for marathon safety, which we'll talk about when we get to it. So this game is part of the series of Nancy Drew point-and-click games based on the novels about teen detective Nancy Drew. And this game was made in 2005. This game's a little bit special because most of the games in that series were set in present day, in quotation marks here, because, again, these games were from the 2000s. But this one is set even longer ago than that, because it was actually based on the very first Nancy Drew novel, Secret of the Old Clock. And so it was set in the same year that that novel was published, which is 1930. So we've got a little bit of kind of just early setup here, kind of story building, a lot of dialogue and cutscenes, about 7 minutes of that actually before the real fun and tricks and glitches of the game really get going.
3 months until she turns 18. Then she's
So we'll talk a little bit about the story here, but this is also some downtime that can be filled with other things if needed. So basically, what's going on here is Nancy has been asked by a friend of a friend to come out to her town and help her with something, but she hasn't heard what yet. So we're here to find that out. We're meeting the first character right now.
It's just that she's
The friend who has asked us to come help her. Her name is Emily. She's a young woman whose mother just died. She's inherited the family business, which is an inn, and she's in over her head. She's only 17, so her guardian is helping her out right now. And this lady that we're talking to right now, her name is Jane, and Jane is Emily's guardian. So we're finding out a little bit about how Jane came to be here and kind of that whole process. Again, just a little bit of dialogue going on right here. One interesting thing about this game that happens pretty early on, obviously, when we're selecting the difficulty. Nancy Drew games have two difficulty modes. They're called Junior Detective and Senior Detective. Junior being easy, Senior being hard. This is one of the few games we actually play on the harder difficulty because there's a couple of places where you, as Nancy Drew, get some hints in the form of Nancy kind of thinking out loud, talking to herself about how to solve a puzzle, but those do lock you in a dialogue. So there's a little bit of time lost due to those. So this game has that kind of going against it on the easier difficulty, and going for it on the harder difficulty is there's not a whole lot of difference in the difficulty of the puzzles. There is some difference that, like, if you're playing casually, you might find them a little bit harder. But what they really chalk up to is either slightly better skill or just a couple of clicks worth of difference. So it is worth it to play it on the harder difficulty for the time saved. So now we're talking to Emily, and we're finding out why she has asked us to come here. So what she would like us to do is to take this jewelry that she's showing us and put it in our father's safe back home, because she's very worried about some weird things that have been happening, and we're going to ask her kind of what's going on with those, but she's not going to get a chance to tell us what's going on, because one of those weird things is about to happen right about now.
I've been acting loony, but please do this for me.
And there it is.
What was that?
Alright, so the kitchen's on fire. There was an explosion. That's no good.
Come on, we better get out of here.
So we're running away. And again, we're about halfway through that slow ramp up with the dialogue here. And this is just kind of the story building, the setup for the rest of what's going to happen here. Alright, so that kitchen doesn't look so good. We're going to find out that apparently the stove was left on, and that was what caused the explosion. And nobody really knows what's going on there.
Does he know what caused the explosion?
It looked to him like one of the burners on the stove had been left on.
So again, this is just a little bit of downtime that can be filled with other things.
Something made a spark, and boom. He said insurance companies are very
And then we'll
reluctant
find
to pay
out
when
that
things look hanky.
Emily
And
was the
that's
last
when times
person
are
to
good.
use the
Who was in the
stove.
kitchen this morning?
And Jane's a little bit concerned
Emily
about
was the
Emily
last
because
person to use the
all of
stove.
these weird things are going
Like I
on. She's
said,
worried that
she's been
maybe
real
she's
forgetful
forgetful, maybe
lately.
she's still a little
I think
preoccupied
she's
from
pretty
everything that's
upset,
going on in
but
her
it's
life.
not her fault. What with her mom passing away.
So
barely
really,
a month ago, and
the
me
goal
showing
here, if
up
you're
as
playing one of these
total
games
stranger
casually,
doesn't
is
know
to
the
solve the
first thing
mystery
about
and try to
kids
figure
or
out
running a
generally who the
restaurant,
culprit
and
is,
her
but there's
trying to
usually
do
some other
everything
kind of
all by
story going on
herself.
here. So we're
It's
going to
just
find out a
too
little
much,
bit
that's
more
all.
about the
Who
rest of
wouldn't
that
go a little
story
off their
here
nut?
in this next dialogue.
I better get that. The line to the regular phone got burned up in the fire, so now the only phone we got is the coin phone on the porch. Excuse me.
Oh no!
And we hear from Emily, something else is going on. So we're going to run up and check on her. This is a cutscene lock. We can't do anything here. Oh no, her mother's jewelry has been stolen.
It's gone. Someone must have stolen it while we were all downstairs. I knew something.
Alright, so now she's going to tell us kind of a little bit
Jane
more
said
of the
that you
story
were the
about some
last
of the
one to
other
use the
things
stove.
that
Is that true?
are going to kind of
That
contribute
fire
to the
was
other
not
parts
my
of our
fault.
mystery here.
Oh, what am I going to
So
do?
she's telling us that,
Without
you know,
that
she's
jewelry,
having some
I don't
pretty
have a
serious
prayer
money
paying for a new stove,
problems.
and without a
She
stove, I'll
doesn't
have
know
to
how
sell
she's
the
going to be
inn.
able to
And
pay
if
for
I
a new
lose the
stove,
inn,
especially now that she's lost
I
that
wish
jewelry.
Mom were still here.
And then
I
she's
wish
going to tell us
Josiah
about someone named
Crowley had
Josiah
lent us the money
Crowley.
like
Well,
he
who the
always
heck is
said he was
Josiah
going to. That's
Crowley,
what
we
I
asked.
wish.
Who's Josiah
So it turns out
Crowley?
Josiah Crowley
He was this old man
is
that lived
this
next
old
door.
man
He
who
died
used to
last
live
year.
next door
He spent
and
most
spent
of
all his time
here
at the inn.
and he led my mom
And he
and
told
me,
Emily and
he'd
her
left a
mother
lot of
that
money
he
for
was
us in
going
his
to
will. He
take
gave us
very
a
care of
clock, and
them
afterwards,
when he
he'd always
died.
point to it and get this little
And
twinkle in
it
his eye
turns
and
out
say,
when he
"Time
died,
will
according to
tell."
his will, he
When he
didn't leave them
finally
any
found his
money at
will,
all. So
he
she's,
didn't
you know,
leave us
a little
penny.
confused, a little
Did he
bitter
have
about
any
that.
family? No. He always
And,
said Mom and
you
I
know,
were his
especially
family.
now that she's having
Josiah
all
was
of these
kind of a
money
screwball.
issues.
One time he showed up at my birthday party dressed as my
She
great
also
Aunt Harriet.
introduced us to the
I didn't know
fact
it was
that
really him until 2
Josiah
days
might have been
later.
a little bit
Anyway,
of
he had all
an
these weird
oddball.
hobbies, and
He
always
liked
thought it would be
some
really
some
keen to
interesting
read
things
minds.
like
Josiah
mind
invited
reading and
Richard Topham to move in sometime
developing
to help him
paranormal
develop his
powers.
paranormal
And he
powers
had a
right
friend
there
move in
in
with
his
him
house.
to
Josiah was
try to
a
teach him
sweet
how to
old
read
man, and I
minds.
do miss him.
And that
And he
friend's
was
name
free
is
to give
Richard
his money to
Topham.
whomever he wanted.
And
But
we're
to
not
get
going
our
to
hopes up
do
like
this
that
dialogue
and
option,
then
but
leave
if we
us
kept talking
nothing,
to her, we would find
it
out
just
that,
wasn't
hey, he's
like
actually
him.
still
Was
living
your
in
mother's
Josiah's
jewelry
house,
insured?
which, as I said, is just
Gosh,
right
I
next door.
forgot
So we're going
about
to
that.
go
I don't know.
talk to him in a little bit
Jim
here.
Archer. I bet he'd know.
Now we're
He's the
asking
banker.
her if her mother's
Guess I
jewelry
should
was
go talk
insured,
to him.
You
which
don't
sets
sound
us
very
up
happy
to
about
the
it.
final character that
I'm
we're
just
going to
so
meet
bad
in
at
the
business
game, which
things.
is her
And Jane, my
banker.
guardian, she
And
tries
we'll
hard,
see
but
him
she's
in a
no
little
good
bit.
at it either. Maybe you could go talk to
This
her.
game
Please?
is
It
kind
would
of
be
a very
such a
long
big help.
series of
Sure.
fetch
He runs the
quests
Main Street
and
Bank. You can't
otherwise
miss it.
running
I'll
errands for
call him and
people.
tell
There's
him
a
you're
lot of that
coming.
going
I'll be
on.
back in a
Alright,
little
so we
bit.
are reaching the end
Don't
of
forget to
that
call
dialogue
Father.
opening, and now the fun begins. So we are going to make a mad dash for Josiah Crowley's house. We're going to grab that piece
Looks
of
like
paper,
someone
we're
must
going
be
to look at a
here.
viewable object real fast to cancel the dialogue, and now we're going to do the first glitch of the game.
Over here.
And that is what is called the More Nancy Drew skip, or the MND skip. So, the games have this cute little feature built into the menu. It's called the More Nancy Drew page, and really it just has like little advertisements for the other games and cutesy little things like that. But if you click that while you are actively playing the game, it makes essentially a phantom save file. So it's not a save
Mr.
file you
Topham?
can load from, it
Richard
doesn't show up in
Topham at
your
your
saves.
What were you doing
But
just
it's a
now?
save state
I
that's
was in the
there,
process of
and
trying
you
to
know
make
that
these
because
spoons
if you click
move
continue
by using
game, then
nothing
it
but my
picks up
own
as though you just
sight
saved the game.
and
Turns out if you save the
having
game in the middle of a
focused sunlight
dialogue,
through a
the game
magnifying
thinks
glass
that dialogue
until
is
it was a
over,
minute
so we're going to
yet
use
sealing
that
point of light
at
with
least half a dozen times in this
Yeah,
game
I
to
guess.
skip dialogues.
You see,
Now,
that's
that
what
one
I
that we
do
just
with
skipped
my
was only a couple of
cerebral
seconds long.
animations, my
We're going to
thoughts.
skip some that
I
are up
focus
to
them
a
until
minute
they're a
later in
beam
this
of
run.
pure
So that's a
energy which
really, really
ultimately
important trick. It's
disrupts
actually the
and
most important
transforms the
trick of
molecular
this
force
game.
field surrounding the
So now we're
target
meeting
object.
Richard
Is
Topham.
that what you
He's
teach
the guy
people
who
in
can
your
supposedly
school?
read
How to
minds.
beam their thoughts?
We're going to
I
be
take
not
them
so
through
sure about that
exercises
as the
designed to
game
help
goes
them
on,
increase their
but
output of phantasmic
you know, we'll
energy.
see what happens
If you
here. He's
want
going to
to
give
sign
us
up for
some
an introductive
riddles that he
session,
wants
I
us to
believe I have an
solve to
opening
prove
today.
that we
No,
are
thank
smart
you.
enough to talk to him
Oh,
because
I'm
he's
afraid
a little
I'm
bit
busy,
full
young
of
lady,
himself.
far too busy to engage
We're
in
not going to do
political
anything with those
conversation.
right now.
When
We're
would
just
be
going
a
to hang
good
on
time
to
for
them.
me
We'll
to
come
come
back to them
back?
in a little bit.
I'll be blunt, Miss Drew. I've discovered that the more time I
Once we
spend
finish
with
this
these,
dialogue, we're actually
shall we
going
say,
to do the
intellectually
second most
unendowed, the more
important
my
trick of
cerebral
this game,
pulsations seem to
and that is an
diminish.
RNG
I'm afraid I
manipulation
cannot speak to you
using the
further
system
unless
clock.
and until you prove that you are
So,
worthy.
most
That is,
speedrunners know
that your
that
brainwaves
randomness in
are not
games isn't actually
unacceptably
random.
inferior
It's based
and
on
thus
something called a
deleterious
seed.
to mine.
How would I
And
do
what
that?
sets the seed
have here
is
is an
determined
exercise in
by a
logic.
variety of things
If you can
depending on the
discern
game, but in the
correct
Nancy Drew
solution,
games, it
then
is
I'll know that
determined
conversing
by
with you will
the
do me no
system
psychic
clock
harm.
down to the
You may take
second
it with you.
when
Good
you
luck
start your
and good
save
day.
file.
Would it be okay if
So
I looked
we
Go right
manipulate that
ahead.
using an
Place is
executable
more
called
like a
run as date.
museum
So
than
we
a
found a
house.
seed
Was this
that
Josiah's clock?
sets
Everything in
this
here was
concentration
Josiah's.
style puzzle that we're looking at here to a particular value that, first of all, I know it, I have it memorized, and second of all, as you can see, it's extremely fortuitous in that all of the pairs are pretty much right next to each other, so that lets me complete that puzzle as quickly as possible. So we're going to finish that puzzle and we're going to get something out of this clock, and it
What
is
this
a
mirror
mirror.
is doing in here?
Interesting. We're going to pop over here and we're going to pull out a journal and we're going to read through that really fast, and it's going to give us some clues to a couple of things we're going to do in the future. One of them is lock on the carriage house, and we'll see the carriage house in a little bit here. And then the second thing is we're going to read a letter that says that Josiah lent a trivet to somebody, and we're not going to be able to tell who it is. We're actually going to skip the part of the game where we would have figured out who it was, and we just happen to know that it is the lady at Twin Elms. And we want to go ask her for that trivet. And we're going to do that right now. And how are we going to do that? We are going to drive there. That's right. This game has a driving mini game. It is loved and hated depending on who you ask. I actually really like this driving mini game. It's quite fun. So basically drive around using your mouse. You can also use your arrow keys, but mouse is easier. You're trying to avoid potholes. And when you reach a location you want to stop at, you use your space bar. So here I'm doing another
Mrs. Sheldon?
more Nancy Drew MND
My
skip.
name's Nancy Drew. I'm a
And
friend of
the
Emily
way I am
Crandall's.
doing that is I'm actually hitting menu just a hair of a second before I hit the space bar. And what that did was that sent me back to the menu right after the beginning of her dialogue. And again, since loading from a save state, it thinks that I've already done that dialogue. It thinks it's the second time I'm talking to her. And in most cases, the second time you talk to somebody, the dialogue is much faster than the first.
You never know when you're gonna need
So in
a
this
toy.
case, it was literally just her slamming the door in our face instead of doing almost a 45-second long dialogue talking about how she would love to give us that trivet, but she needs to go get her bridge cards from somebody. So we're like, we'll pick up those bridge cards for you. Alright, so now we are buying 5 toys from the general store. Why on earth would we be doing that? Don't worry about it. Next, we are going to go talk to the jewelry store because the item that I caught out of the air and then
Hello,
exited
are
very
you
quickly
Mr.
using a
Waddell?
viewable object earlier
I
was a
found this
receipt from the jewelry
and I just
store, and
wondered
we want to
what you could
know,
tell me
for
about
some
it.
reason, I don't know why it occurred to Nancy to want to go find out more about this, but she wants to know what that receipt was for
Jim Archer
and
wanted you
who
to
had the
appraise
appraisal
a
done. So
key?
now we're going to find out that Jim Archer was the one who had the appraisal done, and it was for a key. Jim Archer, that sounds familiar. Wait a minute, that's the name of Emily's banker, who we're going to go talk to next. We would like to have that key if at all possible, and it turns out Jim Archer didn't pick it up. So we can have it, but we have to pay the appraisal fee. There is a money functionality in this game. It only comes up in a couple of places because we have exactly the amount of money we need
Hello. Are
to
you Nancy
complete the
Drew?
game.
Yes. Are you
As
Mr.
long as we
Archer?
do one
Yes,
particular
ma'am.
thing
Jim Archer.
in a little
I'm
while.
Founder, president, manager, and
Alright,
just about
so
everything
here is
else
our
you can name when
last
it comes to
character,
this
our
fine
last
enterprise.
suspect, so
I
to
hear
speak.
that some businesses
And this
aren't
is Jim
doing so
Archer.
well these
So we're
days.
talking to him
Ever
a little
since
bit
the
about his
stock
bank.
market
Keep in
crashed,
mind this is
one
set during the Great
business after
Depression,
another
so we're
is
talking about the
closed,
Depression
including
and whether
banks.
that's affecting
President
him.
Hoover keeps saying
all
that
of that good
recovery
stuff.
is just around the corner, but you have to wonder.
Is your bank doing okay?
I'm happy to report that we're doing just
And
fine.
he says they're doing great.
Excuse me. Main Street Bank, Jim Archer speaking. No, I don't. I'm sorry, but yes, I know.
We were sent here to
All
find
right,
out
then
if
just bring it
Emily's
by.
jewelry was insured. We're never actually going to find that out. We're skipping that dialogue option entirely. It's not necessary to finish the game. If we
Sorry
had
for the
asked her,
interruption.
or if we had
How can
asked
I
him,
help
we
you?
would
I
find
guess I'll
out
be
that,
going.
in fact,
Nice
it was
talking
not.
to you.
Where did you get this clock?
So we're going to take a
Josiah
quick look at
Crowley
this
gave it to
clock
me.
here.
It stopped keeping
It
time
has a
the minute he
keyhole
walked
on
out
it,
the
and we
door.
just got a key that belonged to him. That's kind of interesting. Now we have to talk to him a second time. It's kind of unfortunate because when you arrive here for the first time, it takes you straight into a dialogue with him, so I don't get the chance to look at the clock first and do all of this dialogue at once. But now he's going to say since we paid the appraisal fee for the key, he has no interest in it. We're welcome to keep it. And we're welcome to mess around with the clock if we want to and see if the key opens it.
I have no
And so
use
that's
for it.
exactly
In
what
fact,
we are
if you
going
want
to
that old
do.
clock, you can have it too.
I guess I'll be going.
Give my best to Emily.
It would sure be nice.
And we're
be
going to
able
open it, and
this
hey, look
thing.
at that. There's some missing gears inside that we can put back together. This puzzle is the same every single time. A little bit, maybe not frame perfect, but you got to be pretty precise with those gear clicks. Possibility for a couple seconds of time lost here. Always pretty frustrating for me personally. And it's going to give us another mirror. Well, that's kind of strange. Alright, so now we're going to stop at the telephone company, and we're doing another MND skip here, and I did successfully get this one. These MND skips can be missed, by the way. You don't necessarily get them every time. The driving ones are pretty reliable. You only have like a split second to click everything in quick succession. They're pretty easy to get with enough practice. We'll do some later in the game that are actually much harder, though. So we skipped her dialogue as well. If we had done her dialogue, then she would have told us she will give us the bridge cards, but she would like us to pick up some raffle tickets from the lady at the orphanage for a fundraiser. So we're going to do that, but not for a little while. Right now we are running back to the inn to talk to Emily.
What about you?
But we got stopped on the porch by the ringing phone. We were supposed to call our father when we got here. We forgot to do that, and so he, gently scolds us a little bit for that. That is some time loss, but unfortunately, as you'll see if you look at the top there, phone calls cost money in this game. And like I said, we get exactly the amount of money we need and no more to finish this game. So it's actually worth the few seconds of time loss for Dad scolding us for not calling him to avoid having to get more money.
I will pick them up, Dad.
So he's going to ask us to run an errand for him while we're in town, to go pick up some papers for him at the telegraph office. We're not going to do that either. Sorry, Dad. Poor old Dad. We're just letting him down left and right here today. And then he's going to ask us some questions about, what's going on, and we're going to end that conversation as quickly as possible because
I'd rather not
this is
go
a
into
speed
it
run.
right now.
All right, but in the meantime,
I know. Pick up those documents.
that's my girl.
Goodbye, Dad.
Keep in touch.
Alright, so now we are going to go ask Emily a very strange question, which is, what is her mother's middle name? Which we know we need to know
Nancy,
because
what was your
of the
mother's
clues
middle
that
name?
Josiah left in that
Lois.
journal as
Why?
part
Oh,
of
just
the carriage
curious.
house lock.
I'll be back in a little bit.
You're the best.
She's going to tell us the middle name is Lois. We're going to run downstairs, and there's another clock here. And we're going to do just a little slider puzzle here. This, again, is solved. The answer is known. I'm just occasionally a little bit clumsy at it. And it's going to give us one more mirror. Man, all these mirrors. And they're all coming out of clocks. That's a little bit odd. Alright, so now we're off to that carriage house, which is right next to Josiah's house. We have to put in 4 words. They all have clues that are kind of from different things you would find out in the course of the game by clicking different places. Only one of them you actually have to find out for real within the context of the game in order to solve this, and that is Emily's mother's middle name. Alright, and that is going to open up this carriage house. We're going to sprint straight forward here. We are going to punch in this code into this clock. Again, we would have had to solve another puzzle to find this out, but I happen to just know it, and we don't actually have to solve the puzzle to get in. It's going to give us one last mirror. So we have 4 mirrors, and there are 4 little brackets across the top of the room. That can't be a coincidence. Let's go ahead and throw those mirrors in there. And then we're going to do this. This is just a domino puzzle, so match up edges to each other kind of deal. This one has just a weird little quirk to it, which is sometimes they don't snap in all the way, and you can't tell which one didn't snap in all the way, and so you have to kind of double-click all of them to readjust them. Didn't happen this time, fortunately. They all went in on the first try. And now that has opened a window, and light is coming in and hitting the mirrors. So now we're just turning those mirrors so that the light hits the little light bulb on the right side of the room. And then we are going to get the very beautiful, elaborate cutscene that the developers clearly blew their whole budget on, and we're not mad about it, because it is pretty impressive. And what this whole contraption is going to do is it's going to drop this ladder, which is going to take us to the upstairs of the carriage house. Now, what I'm going to do real quick here, remember those riddles that Mr. Topham gave us early on? I'm going to hurry up and solve them real quick. There's a reason I wait and do this here. We're only now about to hand them to him, and there is actually a soft lock associated with this puzzle.
Am I smart or what?
So what can happen is if you click too quickly when you are solving one of those and you're going on to the next page, is it will freeze it. It'll freeze the answer. It won't let you retype it back in, but then when you go give him the answers, he'll say that the answers are wrong, but you can't change them, so you're essentially soft locked at that point. So what I'll usually do actually right there, I didn't do it this time, but I'll make a safety save if I'm doing this for a marathon or a race. And that just means, as you can see, no soft lock here. He's fine with those answers, but that means that I could have just reloaded from less than 30 seconds ago if there was a problem.
What would you like to talk about?
So now we're going to ask him if he knows where Josiah's favorite hat is, and he's going to say he gave it to Emily's mother, so we're going to have to go find out Emily here shortly.
He loved that hat, so to him, naming it made perfect sense.
Do you still have Marcel?
No, as a matter of fact, I gave that hat to Gloria Crandall. She said she was fond of the old fellow and wanted something to remember him by.
And then we're going to ask him what Josiah ordered from the Krollmeister Crystal Company. And he's going to tell us it's a piece of quartz, and we're going to try to get it from him. Which he will happily give us, but he's going to make us do a mind-reading exercise in order to get it, which we are going to cheat at.
I was wondering if I could buy it from you. For my father. He loves quartz.
And both of these things that we're asking him for are as a result of the two notes that I clicked on really quickly in the upstairs of the carriage house just a moment ago.
Into another person's brain.
Really?
The only problem is, not everyone has the intellectual capacity to receive.
Alright, so basically what he's going to do here is he is going to shuffle a deck of cards. There's 5 cards, and he's going to pick a card, and we have to guess which card he is looking at. That sounds pretty impossible, right? Except that it turns out that what he subconsciously, unconsciously, I don't know, does is he says the same phrase every time he looks at a particular card. So he'll say the same words every time he looks at the card with the star versus the squiggles versus the square, etc. So
what if I can't do
normally
it?
If you were playing this casually, you'd find out through trial and error which one he was referring to. I already have all the answers. I know which one he's looking at, so I'm going to pick it. He wants us to do this 5 times, but we're not going to do this 5 times. We're going to do it once, and then we are going to do 4 MND skips.
Very good.
And he's going to think we did it 5 times, which is much faster than sitting through his dialogue and then clicking the right card 5 times in a row.
Very good. You did it. Well, actually, I did it. But in any case,
alright, so he's going to give us this piece of quartz, which, if you saw earlier, we need for Josiah's ham radio, which we just got a quick glimpse of in the upstairs of the carriage house. But you can't stick a whole chunk of quartz in there like that, you have to have a blank.
Yes?
So we're going to have to get a blank cut.
Do you need anything else?
It was nice talking to you.
I'm sure it was.
Alright, so he told us he gave that hat to Emily's mother, so we're going to go see if Emily still has that hat somewhere, because Josiah claimed that his will was in the hat, which is kind of interesting, since Josiah's will was already found, right?
That's where all Mom's mementos are.
I'll be back in a little bit.
Alright.
You're the
Fortunately
bee's
for us, she
knees.
still has the hat. There's no will in it, but there is a key.
Looks like a
I wonder if that's a safety deposit box key. Alright, so we're going to do a little bit more driving here. First of all, like I mentioned, we're supposed to go pick up some raffle tickets from the orphanage, which is off to the right here, so we're going to go grab that first thing. I am dodging a big pothole in the road here. If you hit the potholes too many times,
Excuse
you
me, are
can
you
get a
Mrs.
flat tire,
O'Shea?
which gets you in
Yes,
trouble.
my name is
This is
Nancy
one of my
O'Shea.
favorite MMD skips because the way the route is
Hi,
set up,
do
we
you
literally
have
talk to
5
this
toys for
lady
me?
twice in a
I
row.
certainly
So
do.
if I get
That's
this skip,
wonderful.
it's not even
You're
like I have to
such
sit
a
through a
saint.
shorter
Do you hear me?
dialogue.
A
Instead, it's pure
saint.
time save
I
because it
better get
skips
these
straight
inside
to
before the children
her
see them.
second
Thank you
dialogue.
so much.
Mrs. O'Shea. the
So
raffle
she
tickets?
asked us to bring her
Oh,
5
the raffle
toys,
tickets?
which is why I
don't
made
have
that
them,
quick
dear.
little stop at the
You'll have to
general
pick 'em up
store
from
earlier
Bob's
because I am
Then just take 'em
omniscient
straight
and
to Mr.
I
Kelsey.
already knew that I was going to
We
need
don't
those
pull
toys.
hair, Ralphie.
So I'm handing those off to
Especially
her,
if
and
they're
she's telling us,
bananas.
oh wait, I don't actually have the raffle
Phelps
tickets yet.
print
They're
shop.
still at the print
Wonderful.
shop. Great, so we just did all of that for nothing. We kind of glossed over that fact in the game, honestly. We just spent $1.25, which is not nothing in 1930, for absolutely
Sorry,
nothing.
young lady,
But it's fine. I'm sure the
close.
orphans are
I'm
thrilled.
just here to pick up the raffle tickets.
So we
you sent
stop
to Mrs.
at the
O'Shea.
print shop up
Aw,
here,
darn it. Let me
asking
tell
for the
her
raffle
about
tickets,
those
which I'm
times
sure
I
this
did
guy
that.
is just going to
Well,
give
I'm
us, right?
sorry,
He's
but
not going to
you're
ask
just
us to
gonna
do
have to
something in
wait until
return. He
tomorrow.
wouldn't do
Oh,
that,
but I need to have
no.
them today.
Yeah,
I need to
yeah,
go
he does.
fishing.
He wants us to
Fishing?
catch a
My
19-inch
brother-in-law thinks
largemouth
he's
bass for
stuffed
him.
because he caught
Well,
an
actually,
18-inch
technically, he wants to go catch it
largemouth
himself,
bass
so he
this
wants to
morning.
close the shop up
So I
early.
bet him I
But
could
we
catch
really,
a
really need those raffle
19-incher
tickets
by the
today,
end of the
so we
day.
offered to do it
If
for
I
him.
do, I get
He's not
his
even too
stamp
sure that we are
collection.
capable of doing
If I
it, but we
don't,
promise
he
him we
gets mine.
absolutely can.
Since stamp collecting is about
So
the
we're
only
gonna
hobby I
take a
can
little
afford
trip to the
these
fishing
days,
hole, I guess,
am going
which
fishing.
fortunately
I
is
know.
pretty much
You
right next to
stay
the
here
print
and
shop.
print those raffle tickets, and I'll go fishing for you.
Not everybody can catch a 19-inch largemouth bass, you know.
I like to refer to this character as
Skill,
Eeyore because
muscle,
that's what he sounds like to
brains.
me.
Bass are pretty smart.
I can do it, Mr. Phelps.
You better be right, because you're not getting those raffle tickets until I get my 19-incher. You can use my gear. I left everything out at the fishing hole.
Great. I'll see you later.
Alright, so off we go. So remember I said we kind of had to do just one thing to make sure we had enough money
First thing I
to
need to
finish
do
the
is
game
bait my hook.
exactly. So
Yuck.
we're gonna go fishing
Now I
here, we're gonna
toss this
bait
in
our
the
hook,
water,
throw the
and
hook
when
in the
bobber
water.
goes under the water, I need to pull the line up fast.
Nancy's gonna over-explain how fishing works a little bit, but we're basically just gonna be waiting for that bobber to dip under the water here. This is a place where you can have some time loss. This is the one piece of RNG in the game that I cannot manipulate out. We are unfortunately stuck with this RNG.
I'm gonna throw this one back.
So this is an example of that. So here I did not catch the thing I wanted. I caught a little tiny fish. That's not what I was trying to catch. If it only happens once, it's like a 15-20 second time loss. It's not too serious. It can happen a couple of times in a row and you can lose up to a minute. It's pretty unlikely though.
Shoot. Maybe there's money.
Alright,
inside
so I have caught what I wanted. Wait a minute, Em. That is not a fish, you might be saying. That is true. But it is a shoe that has a quarter in it, and I am 1 quarter short of having enough money to finish the game. So now I have all the money I need without having to do any more of the optional fetch quests. So now we're gonna do the right bait and
Looks
fishing
like
spot that we
19 inches
need
to me.
to actually catch fish. Hey, look at that.
Oh,
First
no
try,
offense, Mr. Fish.
19-inch
You stink.
bass.
Let's see what you got.
And we're gonna go take that
How
stinky
about
little fish
that?
and return
You
it to
did.
him.
Here, let me take it from you.
And
Please
he's going
do.
to
I
be
think it's starting to get a
very
little
grateful, and he's
bright.
going to give us the raffle
Just
tickets we
rest
need.
yourself a minute while I get those raffle tickets. There you go. 10 dozen tickets to the annual Orphans Benefit. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to go make a telephone call.
To your
Oh, and I should say,
brother-in-law?
anytime we're not using the
Yeah, the
MND
one
skip
who
while
used
driving,
to
it's usually
collect
because it's the
stamps.
last time we're talking to somebody, or because we're talking to somebody and we can't talk to them again until something else happens. because again, MND always makes it treat it like the second time you're talking to somebody, and you can soft lock yourself if
Hi, you
you
got those raffle tickets for me?
I
talk
sure
to
do.
somebody,
Great.
or if you
And
MND
how
when you're
is
talking to
the
somebody that
bridge
can't be
cards?
talked to
One of the
again.
gals spilled Moxie all
And this is an example of that here. So we're back to the telephone company. We're giving her the raffle
Okay.
tickets and getting
Thanks
the
for your
bridge
help,
cards.
Mr. Kowski.
Thanks for your help.
And
Bye
we
now.
can't skip any of this. We're just stuck with this.
Hello,
Alright,
Mr.
so remember that
Riddell.
piece of
Now
quartz
what?
we got
I need
earlier?
for you
We
to
are
cut a
going to
blank
get
from
a
this
blank
piece of
cut from it
quartz.
from
Let's see
the
it.
The
jeweler.
blank needs to be just like the one
He
you
is going
made
to charge
before
us
for
$2
just
to do that. So that
Like I
is
said,
the
no big
other
deal. You're gonna have to cough up
big
$2,
money
though.
sink
You can pay me when you
of
pick
the
it up.
game that
Good
we
day.
had to worry about. And then we're going to go back to the bank, and we're going to show Mr. Archer the safety deposit box
Hello
key.
again.
And we're
Did
going to
Josiah
ask,
Crowley have a safe deposit
hey,
box
can you
here?
open
As
Josiah's
a
safety
matter of
deposit
fact, he
box for
did.
me since I
Topham
have the
has tried
key?
to claim its contents, but he can't find
And
the
he's
key.
going to tell
Could
us
this be it?
that might be
It is from
Josiah's
this
key.
bank.
May
But
I see if it
technically,
opens
since
the
we're not the
box?
owner of
It
the
takes
box,
two keys to
he
open a
doesn't
safe
have to
deposit
open it
box.
for us.
The owner's key and my key.
But
And
as
in
with
this case,
everything
I'm
else in
under
this
no
game,
obligation to
if we
open
will
it
do
for
him
you.
a favor,
Oh, but I...
he will do it for
However,
us.
were you to do me a small favor,
Sure.
I
So what's
hired
the
a
favor gonna be
seamstress
this
to make a
time?
dress for my wife's birthday next week. Unfortunately, the seamstress and I had a falling out, and now I need to find someone to finish the dress.
Alright, so
Just hire a
he
new seamstress.
is having a
The
dress
fact
made
of
for
the
his
matter
wife.
is, the
So the
dressmaker
seamstress
quit
and I
because
had a
couldn't
falling
pay
out,
her.
and she won't
I
finish
misled
it.
you before. Business
We're like,
is not fine.
What's up
This
with that?
bank
That's a little
is
bit
on
weird.
brink
And
of
this is where he
ruin.
confesses to us that actually his bank
I'm
is
sorry
failing.
to hear that, Mr. Archer.
This is the Depression after all, kind of a rough time
I
for
wanted to
banks.
get my wife
And
something
he couldn't
nice
afford to pay
because,
the
well,
seamstress.
it might be the last nice thing she gets for a
In one
long,
of the
long
dialogues
time.
that
Now,
we did
Emily
not
once mentioned
do
that
with Jane
used to be a
earlier,
dressmaker.
we
How
find
much
out that
more
she
has
used
to
to
be
be a
done on the
dressmaker.
dress?
I
And
have
Mr.
it
Archer
right
knows
here.
this,
The
and so he
seamstress said
asks
that all
us,
the
hey,
pieces have been cut
can
out and
you
basted
ask
together.
Jane to
All that's
finish the
needed is a
dress
sewing
for
machine.
me? Which
When
is
it's
a very
finished,
sensible
bring it
thing
back
to
and
do.
I'll let you try that key in Josiah's
If
safe
we
deposit box.
did talk
I
to
guess
Jane
I'll be
about the
going.
dress,
Give my best
she
to
would
Emily.
say she hasn't done any of that work for years and years. She doesn't remember how to do it. So, no. Whatever. Instead of having the retired, but probably still pretty competent seamstress make the dress, we're gonna have the clueless 18-year-old do it instead.
Is this your sewing machine?
Actually, that belonged to my mom. She and Jane used to be dressmakers. Mom was going.
So we're just gonna do a couple
Would it be
MND
alright if I-
skips here to get through some dialogues.
There's no needle.
We're gonna find out there's
Box
no
with the
needle
rest
in the
of
sewing
Mom's
machine.
stuff. Ask Jane if she
But
knows
Jane
where
might
it
know
is.
where it is. So we're gonna go check in with her.
So, is Emily all right?
Someone stole her mother's
This is actually the
jewelry.
first time we've talked to
She
Jane
was showing it
since
to me
the
just
very
before the
beginning of the game,
explosion.
which is,
Now
you know,
it's gone.
one of those good old
Someone stole it while
speedrunning plot
everybody was rushing
holes
around
where
trying to put
surely
out
by
the
now
fire.
she would have heard
Hypers.
about
You
everything,
can't
like
trust a
Emily's
fireman.
jewelry
Who
getting
can you
stolen and all of
trust?
that,
Who
but
else knew
the
Emily
game
had
kind of
that
intended that we
jewelry?
talk to
When
her
Gloria was
immediately
alive,
after
she
all
could
of that
have told people
happening.
about it, or people may have seen her wearing it. And when she died, they knew the jewelry had to be around here somewhere, right?
Does anyone in particular come to mind?
Sorry. It's been hard enough getting to know Emily, let
And now we're
alone
going to
anyone
ask
else
her
in this
about
bad
that
part of
needle
her.
for the sewing
Well, Guess
machine.
better go call the sheriff.
Would you happen to know where the needle for the sewing machine in Emily's room is?
And she'll get it
Moved
for
all
us.
Gloria's sewing
but not
things
for
out of
free.
there and put
No,
them in
no.
a little box.
Not in this
I'm
game.
supposed to get the pies we
She
baked
would like
before all
us
the hullabaloo
to
this morning ready
arrange
for the delivery
the
man.
pies
They
on the
gotta be put in a
porch.
shipping container just so, or he casts a kitten. This
Why
is
we are
how he
leaving
wants
pies on the
organized.
porch?
Now why don't you go
That
out
just
on
simply
the
does not
porch and get
seem
those
wise
pies
to me.
ready
Like,
go
what about
while I look
bugs,
for that
Jane?
sewing box?
Sounds good.
What about bugs? But you know what? Hey, I'm not eating them. So she gives us a little piece of paper that has the order the pies need to go in. We don't actually have to look at that. I know what it says, so I'm just gonna solve it. This is solved, it's the same every time. Mistake here.
There, that should do it.
Definitely not my best
Looks like
pies.
there might be some kind
While
of
Jane is gone,
tunnel
we're gonna
around here.
snoop in her little desk there.
Thanks for doing the pies.
And we're gonna see
The more
a
I do
photo
it, the worse I
of
seem to
what
get
looks
at
like
it.
a
Here's
secret
that box.
tunnel.
I'm sure that sewing
kind of
machine needle is
interesting.
in there somewhere.
I see it.
Remember,
Alright, well, we've
when
got
it
the sewing
comes to
machine
using
needle,
it,
so
you're
that's
on your
something.
own, kiddo.
Well, I'll talk to you later.
But
Don't
like,
take
what
any
about that
wooden
secret
nickels.
tunnel? I want to know more about that. And I'm gonna go right exactly to where that secret tunnel is, which is under this bench.
From the looks of those,
Quick little M&D for some dialogue here. Gonna pop up to this side tunnel to the right.
one of the
Oh
walls
wow,
of
I can see right into Emily's room from this tunnel. That's a little creepy. Don't love that. Wouldn't love knowing that was looking into my room.
Wow, $1. This
And we find $1 laying on the ground down here, and that is the last piece of money we need in order to finish the game. This is just a pretty standard puzzle. Move the pieces, rotate some of the pieces. Same solution every time. Alright, what's this puzzle gonna give us? It's gonna give us a record. Alright,
Guess I better not leave the lights on.
so we're gonna run to the other end of that tunnel, and this is where we're gonna find out that this leads right into Josiah's house, aka Topham's house. So this is essentially a tunnel connecting those two houses. That's a little bit interesting.
Someone's watching me. Guess I better not
Definitely won't find a way to use that later. Briefly dialogue locked there, so going ahead and grabbing the needle for the sewing machine, and this is the part where speedrunners hold their breath. So you have to sew the dress, have to follow that line with the needle. This is one of those things I mentioned. The reason we do hard difficulty is because it is a little bit faster, but there is a higher skill level required for a couple of puzzles, and this is the big one. So this is much less forgiving on hard mode than on easy mode, so speedrunners hold their breath here.
There. Not bad, Miss Drew. Not bad at all.
No problems at all. We're going to go ahead and play this record, but we're not actually going to listen to it. And then we're going to look in Emily's drawer. We're going to see a letter from Josiah to Gloria. That'll be important later, but not quite yet. And now we are finally going to go back to Twin Elms and get that trivet. So the trivet, along with the audio on the record we didn't actually listen to, are going to be a key to getting a secret word that is going to be important to us here in a moment. So basically the trivet has a bunch of symbols on it, and the record had sound effects that corresponded with those symbols, and if you put all of those together, they would become letters that spelled out a word.
Stroganoff was placed atop it. I assure you, no one noticed. Now do run along. My guests will be arriving any minute, and that dress of yours, it's, well...
I like this dress.
Alright, so she's just going to mildly insult our attire here briefly. And then we're going to run back to the bank. And we are going to triumphantly hand Mr. Archer this lovely dress that we sewed.
How's the dress coming?
All done.
This is beautiful. Thank you.
He's
let's see if
thrilled,
that
and
key
he's going to
opens
open the
up
safety
Josiah's
deposit
safe
box
deposit
for
box.
us. Which,
That
at least
was
now, would probably
fast,
break a
not
law of
just
some
fast.
kind, maybe not in
Well,
1930, I don't know. I'm not up on those laws
Would it be
from
okay if I kept
1930.
this?
If it was money or
Alright,
jewelry
so
or something
no
like
will
that, I'd turn it
inside the
over
safety
to
deposit
Topham.
box.
But a journal?
A little bit surprising,
Finders
considering
keepers,
that's
as
what he
far
said
as
the
I'm
key was to.
concerned. I'll be at my
There
desk
is
if you
this
need me.
journal with letters on it. Hey, I know some letters. I look really cool right now because I just happened to guess that this word is Goodfellow. Again, that was because of the trivet and the record from earlier.
Flute, 7.025.
Alright, so it's going to give us 3 names, which are code names corresponding to characters from Midsummer Night's Dream, and frequencies that presumably you would call these people on ham radio.
Anything else I can do for you?
I guess I'll be going.
Nice talking to you.
Which we will be doing here pretty shortly.
Hello, Mr. Waddell. Are you done making that blank?
Have you got
Especially
my
now that we
key?
can pick
Right
up
here.
that blank,
Here's
which
the
will
blank I
make the
got for you.
radio
Enjoy.
actually work. So one thing that does kind of get skipped over in the context of playing this game in a speedrun and missing a little bit of the lore is that Josiah was obsessed with acting and was particularly obsessed with Midsummer Night's Dream. A little bit of navigational hell here, don't mind me.
Guess I
Alright,
better
so we're
not
going to
leave
pop
the
back
lights
into the
on.
secret passageway here.
Anybody.
And we're going to realize that we don't hear Mr. Topham in his room.
Look around.
So we are going to pop up here and do a little snooping. Real quick. Kind of set up earlier in the game is that this cat keeps crying until it gets its mouse. If you don't
Josiah must have seen these quotes.
give him his mouse there, you can get a game over because Topham will get so annoyed with him that he will come out and see that you're here. So we're looking at Josiah's copy of A Midsummer Night's Dream, and there are 3 passages circled, and they each have a name corresponding to them. Those are the same 3 names that were in the
Why do I get the feeling?
journal.
Guess I better not leave the lights
That
on.
can't be a coincidence. So, let's go call these people. Let's go find out who they are and why they're clearly so important that Josiah had their names in a safety deposit box. So, popping back into the carriage house, we're gonna sit through the whole budget cutscene again. I'm not mad about it. It's pretty. Alright, so remember I said that there are 3 incredibly difficult MND skips that we were going to try near the end of the game. It is time for those.
Looks like Josiah was
So
a
you
ham
can do an
radio
MND
operator.
skip here to essentially skip the entire conversation with these folks that we're calling, but
Is
you have to
anyone
click
out
the
there?
menu a
Hello?
fraction of a
Can
second
anyone hear
before
me?
they answer the radio. And I got this one, which is the best one to get. This is a full
My name's
minute
Nancy
of
Drew.
time
I'm
save.
afraid I have some
It's the
bad news
best
about
MND skip in the
Coke.
run. It is also one of the hardest. So
Hello?
again, now
Can
it's going to
anyone
be
hear
acting
me?
like we are
Speak to
calling
me.
this character
Hello?
named Thisbe for the second time instead of the first time. We're not going to hear her whole life
Yes,
story
I'm pretty
anymore.
Sure I know the cue now.
We're just going to say, hey, I'm going to read you a passage from
shadows
Shakespeare, and
have
you're
our
going to
bend,
tell me,
think but
which
this, and
she would
all
have
is
told us if we
mended.
had done the longer
That you
version,
have but slumbered
the
here, while these
phrase that
visions
Josiah
appear.
told her to say in response if he ever recited this to her.
Are alert for bad water, so do not go this way.
And she's
The
going to say
authorities
something
are
that
alert for
is
bad
a little
water,
bit of a
so do not
nonsense
go this
phrase, and
way.
each of the 3 characters that we talk to is going to give us one of these. It turns out that the phrases that they're saying correspond to some symbols that we could have read in
Told
a
you he was an
newspaper
actor?
clipping that
He told me that acting was
were
his
very
life,
common during the Great
and he
Depression
couldn't
that
reach
people
the
could
things
put
to
on
win.
their walls or their
No matter who
doors
he was to the rest of the world, that's what he
let
was to me,
other
and that's how I
travelers
remember
or
him.
homeless
And now,
folks in
as
the
Matt was
area
fond of
know whether
I bid
this
you
was a safe
adieu.
place to stay,
Over and out.
safe place to visit, if they should avoid it, whatever. But we didn't actually read that article because we didn't need to.
Hello? Is
So we're
anyone
going to
there?
try another skip here.
Hello?
This is Pyramus.
And we're going to get this one
Who are
too.
you?
My name's Nancy
These
Drew.
ones are very
Is somebody
difficult.
named
This
usually
second
calling
one
on
is
this
a little bit less of
frequency?
a time save because this person has a bit of a
Hello?
shorter
Can
life
anyone
story,
hear
but
me?
it's still
Speak
some
to
time
me.
save,
Hello?
so it's nice to have.
This is Pyramus. Is this whoever it was before?
Yes, Nancy Drew. And I think I know the Shakespeare quote Puck used to rattle off when he wanted you to say that stupid saying.
Think so? Well, let's hear it.
Thou speakest aright. I am that merry wanderer of the night.
How'd you know?
And he's
Long
going to tell
story.
us a
But what did he
phrase.
tell you to say in response?
Wait a minute.
So we're actually going to need
Write
4
it
of these
down.
phrases, and the 4th one was in that letter that Josiah wrote to Emily's mother that we
A
took just a
barking
split
dog
second look
did
at
well
earlier.
to hold his in a dangerous neighborhood.
A barking dog would do well to hold his tongue in a dangerous neighborhood.
I told you it was stupid.
I really appreciate your help.
Just out of curiosity, what kind of car did Puck drive? Do you know?
I don't think he had a car.
Alright, so we've got one more of these little conversations to have.
Over and out.
One more chance at a skip here.
Hello? Flute? Are you there?
Okay, so I clicked too early. Generally, if you click, you could either click too early or too late. If you click too early, you go to the menu instead of waiting for the dialogue to start and then cutting to the menu. If you click too late, obviously you just miss it entirely because that dialogue box pops up. Clicking too early, you do technically get a second chance at it, but usually it happens too fast and you can't get your cursor back down in time. I don't sweat this one at all. This isn't a bad miss to have. There's actually the smallest difference between this guy's longer dialogue and shorter dialogue. As you can see, we're already to the point where we are giving him his Shakespeare saying.
Pageant see? Lord, what fools these
So,
mortals
no
be.
sweat on that miss.
Here, let me check my logbook for the response. Now I'm supposed to say...
When I'm doing these intermittently, like right before I do them, I do like to have quiet for those because it is kind of an audio-based cue because the phrase Nancy says is different every time, so the timing of when I have to click is always a little bit different. This game does have subtitles, but we have to have them turned off for MND to work. Alright, so now we are punching in those symbols that correspond to the things each person said, and I kind of messed this up. Had to back out and try again. And now we have a board game. So the board game, you're trying to get this little token to the end in exactly the right number of spaces. The numbers can either move that many spaces or they can carry you across the symbol. This is solved. I know the answer, so I just do it the fastest way I can. And it is going to give us this golf ball. How strange. And so Nancy's going to say here, a golf ball for that golf course of Josiah's. Wait a minute, Nancy, what golf course of Josiah's? Well, we have managed to avoid this entirely up till this point. And it's kind of too bad, because it is a very cute little golf course. But I am very bad at the mini golf. So I'm very glad we get to avoid it other than at that last point. So, wait, what the heck? It gave us another safety deposit box key. But we already opened his box. Does he have two?
You've got to go talk to Emily.
We get forced into just a short little dialogue here with Jane, who begs us to go talk to Emily. We are not going to do it. We are going to turn around and leave. Because we have just about solved this mystery, and nothing is stopping us. So we are going to make tracks to the bank, and see what the heck is up with this.
Hello again.
Alright, so Mr. Archer is going to tell us that it turns out Josiah only had one safety deposit box.
And you've already
well,
opened it.
Can you tell me
we got another key.
It
And he
is
says,
one of
well,
ours.
it's
Where did you
from
get
the
it?
bank.
I won it playing golf at Josiah's with a special
And then,
ball.
this is another kind of piece of lore that we
Why does that
skipped,
sound
but
familiar?
this
I
is
know,
where we
right?
find
That's
out
what
that
Clara always
Josiah
called me.
actually had
You're
a
ace in
second
the
safety
hole.
deposit
That's
box
who this key
under
belongs
a
to.
different
Clara
name and a
Pickford.
different identity. And so we're going to open that one,
So, Clara
and look at
Pickford-
that, there is Josiah's will, and we're going to MND right out of the dialogue where we talk about it. And now we're going to find a picture of Emily's mother and Jane, where we realize that
Jane
Jane
Willoughby?
doesn't look
That
like
doesn't look
the
the least
Jane
bit
in
like
this
Jane
picture.
Willoughby.
That's kind of
No, it
strange.
certainly doesn't. I'd better get back to the Lilac Inn and have
And
a
suddenly
talk with
everything
her
about
right
how, she didn't really know Emily very well. She didn't know how to sew, even though she had been a dressmaker.
Would you please? I'm kind of
Everything's kind of coming together here.
until you tell me who you really are.
What are you talking about?
So we want to confront her, figure out what's going on,
The real Jane
and
Willoughby.
she is not happy about
Swell
that.
knowing you, sister.
So now it's time for the endgame puzzle. and it is driving. So basically what happens here is we cannot let Jane's car, the purple car, get off of our screen. We have to chase her for a little bit. You can lose this. No matter how good you are. You can get caught on a curb. You can just lose. It's only a few seconds. You just start over, and it's not a very long puzzle. It's unlucky if you lose right at the end, but the end is a big long straightaway, so it's not a big deal. Fortunately, this was entirely clean. Actually pretty perfect on my part, if I do say so myself. Then we realized, hey, she's probably heading to the train station. We're going to take a shortcut there. Which of course I know because I've been driving around so much over the course of this game and definitely not doing the bare minimum. And right as we get there, she crashes into a pie truck. And we're going to have time here momentarily when the letter appears on the screen at the end. And time.
I know you'll be home from school in a couple
Alright,
days.
so this is the end of the game. This is where we find out that Jane was actually an imposter who found the letter about Emily's mother dying, and she showed up trying to convince Emily to sell the inn and split the money with her, and then when that didn't work, she stole all of Emily's jewelry.
And that she should sell it and split the money.
So thank you for watching this. It's just a really fun little game, part of a really beloved niche series. Really love showing off the tricks in this game, the MND and the RNG manipulation. Really pretty fun, pretty marathon safe game, and you know, just a good time for everybody. Thank you.
And insists that he's going to contest the will I found. Dad says it's highly doubtful he'll succeed, and that he'd be better off sticking to spoon tricks. Anyway, when you get home, I'll give you all the details over a nice big piece of slightly damaged cherry pie. Wait till you hear that part of the story. As always, Nancy.